What if the greatest threat to Middle-earth wasn't Sauron, but a wizard once sworn to stop him? Long before the Fellowship set out on their perilous journey, long before Frodo carried the One Ring across the lands of shadow, another ring was forged in secret, one that never came from Sauron's hand. It belonged to Saruman the White, a wizard, a leader, a traitor. This is the dark and forgotten tale of Saruman's Ring of Power, its creation, its corruption, and the devastating truth it reveals. In the earliest days of Middle-earth's Third Age, 5 powerful beings known as the Istari descended from the west, sent by the Valar to guide the free peoples against Sauron. Among them, Saruman stood tall, wise, commanding, revered. He was appointed the head of their order, respected by elves, men, and dwarves alike. But power has a price. The Istari were meant to be humble guides, not rulers. Yet, as centuries passed, Saruman grew obsessed, not with aiding others, but with understanding Sauron's secrets. Knowledge, after all, is its own form of power, and Saruman wanted all of it. He studied the rings of power endlessly, delving into dark lore, deciphering the arts that Sauron had used to bend the wills of others. What began as curiosity turned to obsession, and in the shadows of his tower, he crossed a line no other wizard dared to. He forged a ring of his own. Unlike the 9 given to men or the 7 to dwarves, Saruman's ring wasn't a gift. It was a declaration. "I have great power," he once boasted to Gandalf, his peer and eventual rival. "And the Ring of Power it is, and I am its master." This was no idle statement. Saruman had, in secret, crafted a ring that mimicked the dark art of Sauron. Not as powerful as the One Ring, but dangerous enough to amplify his own abilities. With it, his voice could command minds. His will could twist others' thoughts. His pride now had a weapon. Why would a servant of good create such a thing? Because Saruman no longer saw himself as a servant. He believed he alone could master Sauron's methods to defeat him, that he could wear power without being corrupted, that he, unlike all others, was strong enough to rule wisely. But the moment you believe you're above corruption is the moment it begins. Saruman's transformation didn't happen overnight. It crept in like fog on the plains of Rohan. He abandoned the wisdom of the elves, ignored the warnings of the Valar, and sealed himself in Isengard's Black Tower. He filled its halls with machines and smoke, tore down forests to fuel his war factories, and bred monstrous orcs, Uruk-hai, to serve his growing army. When Gandalf came to seek his counsel, Saruman didn't offer guidance. He offered an ultimatum: join him or suffer. To Saruman, the world was a chessboard, and he would be its master. "A new power is rising," he told Gandalf. "We must join with him." "It would be wise, Gandalf." But behind the calm tone and silken words, the truth was clear. Saruman had fallen. His ring, his knowledge, his pride had consumed him. He was no longer a guardian of the free peoples. He had become a rival to Sauron, and Sauron knew it. Saruman believed he could outwit Sauron, that by pretending to be his ally, he could gather strength and betray the Dark Lord when the time was right. But Sauron had dealt with traitors before. He fed Saruman lies through the Palantir, the seeing stone that linked their minds. Visions of victory, promises of dominion, shadows wrapped in honeyed words, and Saruman, ever proud, believed them all. By the time he realized he'd been played, it was too late. He had turned against his own people. His Uruk-hai had marched to war, his forests had burned, his honor shattered, and his ring, it had not saved him. It had helped destroy him. There's a reason Saruman didn't fight with sword or flame. His true weapon was his voice. Amplified by his self-made ring, Saruman could twist truth into lies, fear into loyalty. Even strong men faltered in his presence. Kings hesitated, warriors doubted. Only those of great will, like Gandalf or Theoden once freed, could resist him. His voice was his spell. His words were his poison. But in the end, words couldn't save him. When Saruman's armies fell at Helm's Deep and Gandalf returned with riders of Rohan, the White Wizard's power began to crumble. Treebeard and the Ents tore down Isengard's defenses. The Tower of Orthanc stood, but Saruman's influence shattered. Still, he clung to dignity, speaking proudly from his high perch. Even then he tried to charm, to persuade, to control, but Gandalf had surpassed him. Stripped of his title, Saruman was cast down, not in fire but in disgrace. Denied even the honor of death in battle, he was imprisoned in his own fortress. And so, with bitterness in his heart, he slinked away, disguised, diminished, to the Shire of all places, seeking petty vengeance on those beneath him. His final end came not at the hands of an army, but from his own servant, Grima Wormtongue, who stabbed him in the back, just as Saruman had betrayed so many before. The wizard who once sought to rule the world died nameless and forgotten, his ring powerless, his legacy one of ruin. So what became of Saruman's ring? Tolkien never said. Perhaps it was destroyed when Orthanc fell. Perhaps it faded when its master died. Or perhaps it still lies hidden, a relic of pride and ambition, waiting for another hand bold or foolish enough to wear it. One thing is certain, Saruman's ring was not a weapon of evil by design. It was a mirror, a reflection of the one who made it, not cursed by Sauron, but twisted by its creator's desire to control, to dominate, to remake the world in his own image. In the end, it wasn't the ring that doomed Saruman. It was his belief that he could wield power without being consumed by it. The same mistake Sauron made. The same temptation the One Ring whispered to everyone who held it. Even wizards are not immune. Saruman's story isn't just about betrayal. It's a warning. Even the wise can fall. Even the noble can be tempted. And even the most powerful can be broken by pride. He didn't fall because he loved evil. He fell because he believed he was too wise to be corrupted by it. His ring, his secret act of rebellion, wasn't his salvation. It was his downfall. So the next time you hear the tale of the One Ring, remember this. There was another. A ring forged not in Mordor, but in the heart of a proud mind. And in many ways, that may be even more dangerous.